Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of the TABC Stormcast. This is the official TABC Sports Storm podcast. Alongside me is Oren Glickman. My name is Noah Kessler. Ellie Hoffberg is not with us today. Normally, I'm in the corner, but today I'm in the actual video. OG, how you doing today?
Good. Happy Nitzelnach to everyone.
What's up?
A long layoff now from TABC Sports, but we obviously have to recap last night. And this is probably our second to last podcast of the semester. Because we have an official policy that we don't play or practice all over Hanukkah. And then once after New Year's, I think we have games.
January 5th, JV.
Right.
Basketball versus.
JV ball rematch on that Sunday, and then the JV varsity hockey doubleheader that Monday, and
And
then
MDY. They play MDY too.
right varsity ball play during midterms, which we tried to avoid but was unavoidable, unfortunately. So yeah.
Yeah. So I gotta apologize first. I don't know as much TABC sports as Ellie Hochberg, but I watch a lot of sports games, so I know. But let's start off with JV basketball. Obviously, we were both there last night at the game, and we had high hopes coming into the game that TABC, this was maybe the second best team in the league. They had a chance to dethrone Frisch, and Frisch came out there and they handled TABC really well. What'd you see last night?
Yeah, I think we all expected this game to be a battle of two titans, but and it ended up being like a cat and mouse type game. Um, I think I told you this, or I told Hach before. Just the body language it didn't seem good out there. It seemed to me like we psyched ourselves out before the game even began. Um, do I think Frisch is a 25 point team better than us? No, I really don't. Um, I think you'll see something similar to last year. Um, Frisch Frisch handled us pretty easily last year.
In Frisch, they handled us. In TABC,
In
they
TBC,
won on.
in TBC, they won on with like 10 seconds left. It was like the last play of the game. They won by a single possession.
I think they won. That was the no timeout game, right? Whether Oz was trying to call timeout or the
Well,
refs didn't call it.
Coach Kamenetsky.
Yeah, Coach Kabinetsky, sorry. He
Right.
tried calling a timeout and the coach and the refs didn't allow
Well,
it.
I think he also didn't realize that the clock doesn't stop after a made basket. You need to call timeout to stop the clock. The clock keeps running. So I think he forgot that too. So yeah, unfortunate, but it showed that we could go toe to toe with them. So I expect a game like that to happen when we host Frisch by us Sunday, January 5th, a 12 o'clock game, and hopefully it moves quick and it ends before those 1 o'clock NFL games.
I mean, the games take an hour. So, I mean,
Right.
but but last night, I don't think they were played out well. They weren't played. That Frisch obviously outplayed them. I don't think it was by that much. I think as much as the score indicates. I think Frisch, they hit their shots, and TBC that they didn't really hit their shots. Both teams didn't really play really great defense. I think at the end of the day, Frisch made their shots, and TBC didn't make their shots, and that's why Frisch won the game.
I think Frisch also played lockdown defense.
I meant on the TBC side.
Yeah, everyone just. I don't think it was. I don't think it was a lack of preparation on our part. I think. I really think it was all mental. I really believe that. And what's beautiful about this sport is that you have a second chance at redemption. And they're hosting us, and I mean we're hosting them. Excuse me. And I think we'll be ready to go.
And we're still the 2 seed.
Right. Right. Also, that's a good point. I actually had the opportunity to sit in on like a quick team powwow today, taking place in the hockey gym, and one of the coaches mentioned, you guys are a 6-2 team. You can't treat last night as if the season's over already. They already surpassed their wins total from last season. They finished 5-5. So the fact that they're on track to still finish 8-2 or 7-3, that pretty much guarantees you of hosting a first round playoff game, and you're still in the hunt for a bye.
If they would to beat Frisch next Sunday, what would the tiebreaker be like? They wouldn't have it because it's point differential, or
Yeah, so similar to what happened in varsity, because TABC beat SAR by a bigger margin than SAR beat TABC. TABC have the tiebreaker if they were to finish with the same record. So since Frisch won last night's game by 25 points, TABC would need to beat Frisch by 26. So the only way TABC is going to finish above Frisch is if Frisch slips up in their last game of the season against SAR, which is not an easy game by any stretch.
yeah. Listen, again with the SAR, they beat SAR twice, so this is not a bad team. I don't think they brought their A game to Frisch, and that's That's all that mattered in the first game. So
Yeah, yeah. I really I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think they were just they looked they looked anxious. I think the buildup itself, they they were all locked in. They all thought like, okay, we're riding a 6 game winning streak. We only lost by Ramaz. We only lost by 3 to Ramaz. We're gonna go into this game. We're gonna get our swagger back, and they just got they just got punched in the gut, plain and simple. You know. Now the ultimate question is, how do you respond to that punch in the gut? And it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful in their case that they don't have any other games in between this game. Their next opponent is this opponent.
yeah, and listen, in the car ride going to Frisch, it was me, you, and Hawk, and we really felt that TBC had a real chance at this game, and then kind of ended in the first.
Right.
But
And I think we even made comments that we made jokes that like we're gonna stay for the first game and leave the second before the second game because we thought the first game was the game to go to. And we were wrong.
well, let's go over to that second game. TBC, it was a must-win game. They played Frisch really tough, but ended up losing on a tough play. Your thoughts on that game?
Um it really stings the way they lost that game. 0-0 up until minute 5 left in the entire game. A tie wouldn't have really helped them, but I think in terms of morale, it could have helped them, thinking like, okay, we didn't win the game, but we tied the best team in the league on their home in their home gym. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. They were so close to pulling it off. But I got official confirmation from the commissioner this morning. I texted with him, so we are not out of playoff contention yet. We win our last 2 games against SAR and Rambam, and we squeak into the playoffs as that number 4 seed. So I think, CAB's. I think we were still in contention going into our 6th game last year, going into our second to last game too.
It was the first game last year.
It was DRS, I think, that knocked us out.
Oh, I thought they got eliminated on the first game because I remember there being a pit.
No, we went to DRS and we lost. I think the odds weren't great, but we lost to DRS 3-2, and I think that's what officially knocked us out. I could be wrong. I do have a pretty good memory though, but yeah. I don't think we're going to get much of a road pit for that SAR game. Also it's the second game of the doubleheader, so I'll be there. Happy to drive anyone who needs a lift, but it's also around midterm time, so I definitely get it. But it's far from over. They have to pick themselves back up, and they will go toe to toe with a team that they held a 2-0 lead over, and could have won that game if not for some penalties that went against them. So and Rambam I think is pretty much a given in terms of the odds. So that SAR game is going to define their season.
About last night, they missed. They had so many opportunities there that they had a 4-on-2 and they didn't score on that. So
They can't put the ball in the net. That's simple as that.
well, could we just give a shout out to Saul Sandell last night, who played? They first had a lot of chances and he made a lot of really good saves last night. So shout out to Saul Sandell.
Yeah, and Saul Sandell played a perfect game. I would just say on the other side that Kleinhaus played a more perfect game.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
yeah, Kleinhaus played amazing.
Yeah. So now you go into SAR. Not sure if SAR can still catch Frisch because they split their regular season, I believe.
Didn't they beat Frisch like 7-3?
Right. I think the 1 seed is going to go down to Frisch or DRS, and I think they play at the end of the month. Listen, I think they will. I think this will bother them for the next few days, but the beauty is they have Hanukkah now to reset and not have to worry about practices at all. And then they're really going to go for it. They're going to practice that Thursday after Hanukkah is over, and they're going to have a practice on Sunday. So they'll have 2 more practices before that critical SAR game. And listen, if you had asked me before, they needed to win one of these 2 games before last night even happened. And if you had asked me point blank, which was the more realistic possibility, I would have told you the away game at SAR over the away game at Frisch.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that. I think in the car we were talking about how they're probably going to beat SAR. I mean, not probably going to beat SAR. They should beat SAR. And
Rambam.
Yeah, Rambam. Sorry, Rambam. And that I don't know. We really didn't feel like they had a chance against Frisch, and they kind of went out there and proved against us. So
Against the best team in the league, no less.
yeah,
So
they played really well.
Yeah, it shows you that you're not far behind the best in the league.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh,
that's my takeaway.
we have 3 more games left that we didn't talk about. The Winter Classic. Let's start with that. Varsity basketball. The pit was the loudest I've ever heard the pit. Really loud there. I think they're down 8 with a minute left to Ramaz. They came back. They sent the game to overtime. That's got to go down there as, if not the best TABC game of the year. So, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think Yona Mandel's steal will be remembered for a very long time. Um, some questionable reffing on both sides, actually. You know, not many teams can come back from that. Not many teams can come back from that. The fact that they came from behind to win that game and continue to hold the edge over SAR, because if they had lost that game, the door is right back open for SAR to leapfrog them in the standings. There's really no room for slippage. That was a great night. Varsity hockey definitely made the most noise, I think, in terms of the 3 games that night, because DRS TABC varsity hockey, it goes back at this point, it goes back decades. The story of TABC versus DRS varsity hockey.
It's like Lakers Celtics.
Exactly. The last 2 unbeaten teams, a rematch of last year's championship game, and you didn't just beat them, you smoked them. You won convincingly. And that gives you reason for optimism that you are light years ahead of everyone else in your league right now. But we were all thinking that, and then 2 nights later, they only beat MTA 3-1.
I mean, the joke last night in the car was that they're killing everyone else in the league, that it's so boring to go to the games now.
Right.
So, like,
it's kind of ironic. They beat DRS 4-0. They beat Frisch 7-0. And then they play teams like Ramaz and MTA and only win 4-0 and 3-1.
well, do you think it has anything to do with mindset? Because going into the DRS game, like, we're probably going to be in a tough battle with these guys.
Yeah.
In the MTA game, you probably think that some of the guys that don't normally play are going to play. So it's kind of a mindset thing there.
I agree. There's probably an adrenaline rush there. You know, I think I still believe that this team has an easy path to the championship game. Shai Forgesh is the best goaltender in the league right now.
I mean, a shutout against the second best offense in the league.
Yeah. Aiden Rousman and REA Simon are playing out of their minds. They're scoring a goal a game, at least. I just don't know who can stop this team right now, because, like, even on their off night against an MTA or Ramaz, they're still going to win the game because they just have the talent.
Yeah, and going back to that varsity basketball game, for the kids that don't go to the pit and don't understand why the pit is a big factor, in that game, the pit was kind of like dead in the first half of the game. And TABC's offense was kind of like that too. And as the pit, got louder, the team started playing better. So definitely the pit controls the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was 19-19 at halftime. Granted, they beat Frisch without a pit. Just putting it out there.
I had no disrespect to our pit. Our pit was
yeah.
That too. When Frisch gave up the bleachers, they were down by 1 at halftime, and TABC ended up.
They were up by 1. TBC were up by 1.
TABC was up by 1, and they ended up with a significantly big win. So
right. Yeah. I think that Ramaz team, they're without their big, but I think they'll pull off some surprises. I feel bad for them because I thought they actually executed up until the last few minutes of the game. Segura was playing out of his mind, but good teams just find ways to dig themselves out of holes, and that's what this team is. They're just a very good team, and they have experience. Also, they've been a second half team all year round. They've always been a second half team. They were a second half team even as JV players.
Yeah, and Ramaz had us on the ropes in both those games, and they came back and won the game. So,
in terms of JV ball, it goes back to what we said on the beginning of the pod. They're 2 bad losses, but they're 6-2. They're exceeding expectations, in my opinion. They still are. So they'll have a reset now. They'll enjoy the holiday. Hopefully, they'll have that critical Frisch game again. Then after winter break, they wrap up their season at home against JEC, and then it's on to Boca.
Yeah, and a big term they use in professional sports is you got to have a short-term memory. And TABC's got to have a short-term memory. You got to forget what happened last night. You got to go into the first game. It's 0-0 game. It's a new game. It's our time to go out there and prove to us why we weren't that bad.
Right. So, I would say both JV hockey and JV basketball, while they're at different points in their season, JV basketball is carrying a 6-2 record, and JV hockey is just trying to squeak their way into the playoffs. They they have to they have to follow the same advice though at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. So they could really pick each other up. But in terms of the varsity programs, they are flying high right now, and I think we should get ready for some deep runs in March for both teams.
In terms of JV hockey, it's kind of the same problem. I know we said a lot. It's kind of the same problem they had last year that they don't put the ball in the net.
Yeah,
Last year, I guess at the beginning
Yep.
of games,
yeah.
at the beginning of games last year, they would put the ball in the net, and then at the end they would kind of put up a donut. But
Is David Ratzesdorfer still leading the team in goals?
I mean, nobody scored last night, so I think he still is.
Right, right. Although they did go off for 6 against YDE.
Did he score against YD?
I think he had 1 maybe.
All right, so now a defenseman doesn't lead the team in goals.
No, I think Brofman and Rubenstein both had 2, if that makes sense. But they
Yeah.
could still be behind David.
Also, shout out to Liam Fields, who last night led a great pit. It was
He was great.
definitely the loudest in the stadium.
He was great. He was great.
Oh.
That's kind of a problem though when your best is not even when your best is a middle school student.
I mean, Ellie Hoffberg is also up there. Definitely best
Right.
in the basketball game.
Right. It's really unfortunate. I think we deserved at least a point out of that JV hockey game. We played extremely well, and there were times where we outplayed them.
Yeah, they played really well. They should have scored on the forehands here, though. That's gonna haunt them for the rest of the year.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, like we both said, a tie wasn't going to help in terms of the overall picture, but it may have given them a bigger boost as they head into the all important SAR game.
I mean, Allen did score there, and they called it back. So if he would have scored there,
The whistle was blown before.
I know, but
Yeah.
that would have been a huge morale boost for them.
I'm thinking to myself, what do you think of Dean Cattler's thinking right now? Former SAR player, won the JV championship last year. Now he's going to his old stomping grounds, hoping that TABC beat his old side and clinch a playoff spot.
I don't know, he's probably mad. I mean,
And he's going to the game.
his Yavna boys are also on the first team, except for like Goldwasser. So like,
Right. Exactly.
I was trying to figure it out. Next year, you think it's gonna be a bigger loss for SCR that they don't have Cadler, or a bigger win for TABC that they have Cadler?
I think it's a bigger loss for SAR that they don't have Cattler this year.
Yeah, I mean they weren't gonna have him anyway this year.
Right. Cattler was part of their team last year, but he wasn't the guy was Jack Linhart, who's a junior now. SAR varsity hockey's actually not been playing well recently. They lost to Frisch the other day, so yeah.
I overheard Dean Cadler talking yesterday in Frisch that he tried to come back for this game, and then his doctor said he has 10 more weeks to go, and he wasn't really feeling in his leg to play tonight.
No, the soonest you'll see him is if JV hockey make the championship game. But right now, we're just trying to make the playoffs.
It's a big if. Big if.
It's kind of crazy because of how small the field is. You just need to win. You just need to win 3 games right now to get to the championship game.
What happens if that tie SAR?
If they tie SAR and beat Rambam, they'll have. That's a great question because Hafter will be on 4 wins. They'll be through because Hafter's beating MTA right now. Hafter's going to finish the season with 4 wins. So if we tie SAR and beat Rambam, we finish with. Oh no! Wait, we're on 3 wins right now. You're right. I guess it would be head to. Then it would be head to head, and Hafter has the edge.
What's YDE at?
YDE is now on. I'm actually on the page right now.
Wait, if Hafter has more losses and they both have 4 wins, then TABC has the better record. If TABC would have 2 ties.
Hafter's beating MTA right now, so their overall record at the end of the day is going to be 4-3-2-1. If TABC tie SAR and beat Rambam, they'll be 4-4-0-2.
You're reading the points.
Huh?
You're reading the points. Do you mean 4-1-2?
We're talking about an SAR tie and a Rambam win, right? So it'd be 4-4-0-2.
So they would make the playoffs.
They wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, what's YDE at?
YDE now has 9, but I think everyone believes that they're going to lose that final game to SAR and finish at 4-5-0-1. So they're going to finish with 9 points.
And TABC's at.
TABC is at 7 right now. So
a tie and a win would put them at 9.
the Raptors going to be at 11 after tonight.
So, yeah, because there's going to be 4 teams in.
Yeah, Raptors up 6-1 right now in MTA.
So it's really a must win for SAR.
Yeah. There's no beating around the bush.
Another thing that came out this week, the JV soccer rosters came out this week. Anything you want to touch up on there? I know you're the coach.
No, should be a good season. Looking forward to it. Have everyone back from last year's squad. Got 6 freshmen coming in. Very excited, especially about Brodsky, Gampel, and Linder. I think they have a lot to bring to the table. And I think we'll have a good season.
Brodsky's brother is one of the best TBC soccer players we've seen.
Yeah, Gavi Brodsky. I always thought our disadvantage last year, and don't get me wrong, I love my sophomores who are now juniors, but I always thought our disadvantage. I think I believe this with any league. It's hard to win a JV league when you have more freshman weapons than sophomore weapons at your disposal.
Well, you could say the same thing about JV basketball this year, and that's why they lost to Frisch.
Correct. You have 3 freshmen who start over 2 sophomores. Yeah.
Another thing you could say about the JV basketball game and why it stinks so much, you touched up on it in the car last night, is that everyone that torched us last night for Frisch has ties to TABC.
Right.
You have Bromberg, who's transferred from TABC. Munoz has a brother that goes to TABC.
Right.
And the whole rest of the lineup has ties to TABC. So we really got burned from former TABC kids.
Yeah, totally. There's not much I can say in that regard. Maybe I got to turn up the charm, or maybe I have to offer some more NIL deals. I don't know.
Why don't we bring in Dylan Harper?
Yeah. Listen. Can't fault anyone for the decisions that they make. We obviously wish everyone on this pod, we wish them success wherever they go in life. Last night was a bad night. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But there's a reason why they call it a home and home. So last night didn't go our way. We have a second chance with JV. And in terms of hockey, we lost both first matchups, but going into your 9th game of the season, going into your second to last game of the season with still a viable shot at the playoffs, I'll take it. Especially considering the way we started the season. We started the season with a very disappointing loss at HAFTR. So the fact that we're still in contention, because things didn't start off so well, so you have to take what you can get.
I mean, going back to basketball, I think it's sometimes you can look at it that it's better that they got killed by Frisch, because now, they're no longer the team that we're the 1 seed now. Now you can focus on doing the little stuff better.
I was saying the same thing about varsity ball actually when they lost to SAR. Because now you kind of have the target off your back a little bit. You're not like the team that everybody's chasing. Now I think in terms of varsity ball, I think it's clear that there are 3 teams that everyone's chasing after: TABC, SAR, and DRS. In terms of varsity hockey, now it seems like TABC is in a league of its own. JV hockey, I would say it's Frisch and DRS that people are going after right now. And in terms of JV ball, I think we were in that conversation last night, but probably not anymore. I would say that everybody's after Frisch and Flatbush.
I mean, SAR is 4-3, so.
Right.
Any other sports you want to check up on before we end the program?
Wrestling hasn't wrestled since we last had our show. Nothing to discuss in regards to ice hockey. I hope everyone has a great Hanukkah. It's really a great opportunity to, dial back and unwind, catch some football tomorrow, catch some NBA. And, we'll be back with another show, either to preview the JV basketball rematch against Frisch and the JV varsity hockey doubleheader against SAR, or maybe we'll recap it after. And
I mean, this is really the meat of all our podcasts, because we're almost at spring sports. And no offense to spring sports, I'm on a spring sport, but spring sports are not as fun as fall sports. So,
I wouldn't say not as fun. They just don't attract as much buzz. I think that's fair.
I mean, JV softball team we're we're the best team in the league.
Yeah, except some of your players might not even be coming back. Like Zach Field, for example, is on baseball now, so he's not going to play softball.
That's it. I mean, it was a freshman run team last year, so
Right. I'm sure you'll get Goldwasser back. I'm sure you'll get Poppy back. Um, D-Rats.
I think varsity is when you see the team differ because all these kids leave for baseball. Like these kids are good enough to be on baseball. They don't want to play because they're not going to play right now.
Right. Also, softball is more of a chill vibe than baseball. That's why people like it more.
Yeah,
I always found Yeshiva League softball more entertaining than Yeshiva League baseball. I
well,
still
because you put the ball in play, and baseball you just take your 4 balls and
runs
walk.
are on walks and pass balls.
Yeah, it's no offense to the baseball team.
No, I love the baseball team. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to Itai Berkovitz. I think we're gonna have a great year. And that's not a knock on any of our student athletes. That's just the neutral's perspective in terms of what I enjoy watching.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get a bowling team by the spring.
Yeshiva League recognizes bowling. I'm all for it.
We used to have a bowling team. There's banners in the hockey gym.
I know. That's when there was an official league.
All right, let's work on getting a league back. Thank you for listening. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
All right, let's go Storm. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.